Hello, and welcome to today's office hours. My name is Richard Holder, and I'm the head of marketing for Forethought Marketing. Joining me today is Nathan Nemirovski. He's the principal product manager for Eloqua CRM integrations at Oracle, and we're very pleased to have him joining us today. Just a few housekeeping items before we begin. Today's presentation will be recorded, and a link will be available within one business day, probably later this afternoon. We invite you to ask questions using the Q&A feature. We'll use that to queue up the questions and make sure that we get to as many as we can. You're also welcome to ask questions for topics that you would like to see covered in future sessions. We take those and we research them, and then we come back and present them. Before I turn the time over to Nathan, I do have one question for the audience here today. And since you're here for Webhooks, which is a brand new feature that is coming to Eloqua, we're wondering if you have specific use cases that you've considered or are thinking about as you look forward to this feature. If you have a use case, please add them to the Q&A, and we'll use those either as part of the conversation or Nathan will take it back with him to consider. Thank you so much for joining us today, and now I'll turn the time over to Nathan.
Thank you, Richard. Thank you so much for having me here. So let me share my screen and we'll get started. All right, can you see my screen?
We're good to go.
All right, perfect. So so this is a short presentation, but before we go there, a couple of words about myself. I've been with Oracle now with my almost 5 years, covering Eloqua CRM integrations and most recently CX apps in general. I come from a technical background. This is my second time with Oracle. My previous life, I used to work as software engineer for Sun Microsystems before it was acquired by Oracle. So today's presentation is about the new Eloqua Webhook app that is designed to help marketers to cover very simple use cases related to integration. So most common, most popular integrations have dedicated apps. You'll hear me repeating this message over and over again because it's crucial important. Webhook app is not designed to replace a dedicated app. It's designed to help with this simple use cases when marketers need to send data to a remote system or trigger a notification to a remote system that may not be directly supported by Eloqua or may not have a dedicated app. So it's really designed to take this complexity and really designed to help marketers to cover this simple use cases. And I will touch on following slides. I'll touch on exact state of the app, what features are included today, and what we are some of the limitations of the known limits of the app and the immediate roadmap for it. So this is all coming up on next slides. And the same, just before we go there, I just want to notice that the same deck was presented a couple of days ago during Oracle customer briefing. I want to spend less time on the deck. I will go over it as soon as possible. And the app itself, I want to make sure we have more time for Q&A. So you have an opportunity to ask questions, and if I cannot answer a question, I don't have enough time, but we're more than happy to take them away and post answers on Oracle Community Forum. So let's start with a general idea. What are webhooks, right? Because webhooks mean different things for different folks, developers, non-developers. But generally speaking, webhooks are automatic and event-driven. They are designed to send data in response to a specific event without any request on other software. It is not a replacement for APIs. There are certain certain cases where webhooks are being used. There are certain cases where APIs are being used, but generally speaking, they're automatic, they're event-driven, they're lightweight, they serve a single purpose, and they typically handle single data flow direction. Let's jump right into Eloqua use cases. So when we designed the app, we actually had the following use cases in mind. So there are two types of webhook connections that, in general, that you can speak for Eloqua. It's outbound and inbound. And just quick notice that a current version of the app supports outbound webhooks only. We'll talk about inbound direction, inbound use cases further down the presentation. But just want to emphasize that today the app is limited to outbound flow only. Where it's useful, the basic use case is around issuing a simple notification to a third-party system. You want to send a message to your colleagues over to Slack. You want to or Microsoft Teams, or chatbot system, or it doesn't have to be. It can be not maybe it's not your colleagues. Maybe it's a prospect that you want to notify and reach out to them through this channel, third-party messaging channel. And the idea is that this message will be triggered from Eloqua Campaigner program, and the message itself will be pushed by the Webhook app to this system. This is one case. Another most common case is if you want to use a no-code to low-code third-party platform such as Zapier or Trade.io. If you want to integrate and use their power and use their connectors and that they provide to effectively to redirect this call from Eloqua to this third party that may not be directly supported, may not have a direct integration with Eloqua, should I say, then you can definitely do that. These are just a couple of examples. There are more platforms out there that pretty much do a similar job. Word of caution, they all have their own limits around frequency of calls, around the size of the payload that you can send to them. So you need to you need to check exactly what our limits are before you start before you design any integration of these platforms. And the third use case for outbound flow will be like systems that support webhooks directly, right? If you have a third-party system that you can issue, let's say you want to create a lead in a CRM system that doesn't have a direct integration with Eloqua, as long as the system has REST APIs and support REST APIs and support one of the authentication methods that are available in the app, you should be able to do it and trigger those create lead calls from Eloqua program or campaign. For inbound webhook, that's again, I want to emphasize, currently not supported. For inbound webhooks, there are two major use cases that I'm very well aware of, that currently working to understand how we can support them and when we can support them. One use case related to Google Ad lead form or type form for this matter. So these platforms provide a way to post data to third parties. So somebody submits form using Google Form, then you can configure those systems to post data to third parties. In this case, it will be Eloqua. So the idea is that when data is posted, you want to get this data directly to Eloqua. And the second inbound use case that I'm aware of, it's a whole subject of data enrichment. For example, if your prospect is active in Eloqua campaign and you want to build different paths based on their status in the loyalty program, for example, right? Then if assuming this case is supported, then you can potentially use the Webhook app to query their status in the loyalty program, and based on number, assuming they're present there, then you can route this contact based on number of points that they have. And again, if you have any other use cases that don't fall, by all means, these are just examples. You have any other use cases that either fall under these categories or like completely different, I'll be more than happy to I'll be very curious to learn about them. So we covered these benefits of the existing app, what it can do. So same three main use cases and key benefits that you can realize with outbound flow that's supported today in the app. Let's talk about the status of the app itself. So currently it's available in controlled availability. But before we go there, let me quickly chat about the functionality. So you can create multiple webhooks. There's no limit on the number of webhooks, number of webhook configurations that you can create in the app. You can and you can link them to multiple Eloqua programs or campaigns. When at the very basic, when you configure webhook, you need to specify its name and URL. That's a bare minimum. Everything else, but you'll find there are lots and lots of optional features and functionalities that you may need to configure to realize actual power and flexibility of a webhook. So you have an option to add custom HTTP headers, HTTP header values that will be included with your call. Some third-party systems do require they're very specific about additional HTTP headers that you need to include them. So hence you can do it directly in the app. Authentication type, by default, the authentication type is set to none, but it really depends on the requirement of this third-party system you integrate with. So we added the ability to specify basic auth or barrier token or API key that you'll need to obtain through these from these third parties. And now getting to the most interesting part of the app, you can add an optional JSON payload that will include either static data, or it can be a combination of static data and Eloqua contact placeholders. So the idea is when you push this contact data through app step on the campaign or program, you actually get dynamic data from these contacts, and this data will be synced to this third-party system. We're currently working. Just preclude one of the frequently asked questions. CDO is currently not supported, but we are actually working on this functionality, and you should expect it in the app, one of the upcoming releases. And finally, we support the form URL. Form URL, effectively, some systems you want to send data encoded directly in the URL, like in the attribute value format, and this is something you can do in the app. So the app includes test configuration. In fact, we require when you'll see when you set up the config first time, you actually have to test your webhook. So we need to get like any 200 response from like 200, 201, whatever, 200, 2xx, I would call it, a response from a remote system. So it will consider it as a successful call. And after you get you could see the exact payload that's being sent to the system. You'll see the exact response that come back. So once you've done this initial testing, you'll be able to enable a webhook and link it to the app step in the campaign program or in the campaign or program step. And also you will see the app include the processing reports, meaning that you will see how many records were sent, how many, and how out of this X number of records, how many were successful, how many failed. And for failures, again, you'll be able to drill down the failure reports and see how many records, the exact payload that was sent for these failed records, and the response that you received from this third-party system. So this is where we are now. So we launched a CA. We are working on a CDO support, and when we're going to declare the app GA and make it available to everyone is to be determined. We would like to make sure that even in its current form, without the kind of when we support only the outbound flow, we want to make sure the app is covers major use cases that if we need to effectively, we want to make sure that the app is useful and usable, and it's kind of it's in line with everyone's expectations for any other app for when it goes live and available to everyone. Let me talk about the control availability program. So we enable it for first wave of customers on September 8th. So the second wave will be enabled during the week of October 8th. So it's a second week of October. If you're here about the first time, if you want to sign up today, here's the link. I know Richard going to share it in chat. So it's the form that you need to fill out. And no SR is needed with Eloqua support. Please, if you're interested, if you wanted this app to be provisioned in your Eloqua instance, fill out the form, and we enabled it to you as a part of wave 3. And number 3 will be scheduled for the week of November 20th. So you'll need to wait a little bit longer, but you will absolutely receive a response from me with all details and information, including download link. Moving on, there's another link that Richard will share in the chat window. This is a customer connect link. Like I started a list of FAQ pages, FAQs effectively on this page, as well as there's this where you will find more information about the app. And there are some folks already asking questions. So if you have a question that you think will benefit others as well, please don't hesitate to go there and post your question about the Webhook app. You can also reach out directly to me. So either way works. So your comments and feedback always will be greatly appreciated. This is what we're looking for during the CA program. One of the key FAQs that were asked during the presentation a couple of days ago is whether or not the app is is any additional licenses required. The answer is no. The app is as long as you have Eloqua license, will provide you with the download link. You can install and use the app with no additional. There are no additional costs to that. Quick reminder about Eloqua Resources Center. You're probably familiar with this one. This is where you can find Eloqua release details and any information about Eloqua, as well as Eloqua CX apps. Now let me show you the app itself. So when you install the app, you'll find it in the same spot where all other Eloqua extension apps have been installed. Call it Eloqua Webhook integration. When you first launch it, your of course list of webhooks will be empty, and you can create a webhook as a create webhook button, top right corner. You specify the name of the webhook. You can post add a description if you want to, and you need to specify webhook URL, and it's in its basic form. That's all you need. Then you can add. I was talking about that. You can add headers multiple HTTP headers. You can specify authorization type, and you can specify raw JSON. Today we only support Eloqua Contact. That's the only kind of object where you can pull data from at runtime. However, as I mentioned earlier, we are working on expanding it and adding support for Eloqua CDOs. And finally, you can use one of the existing Eloqua contacts to test your configuration. For example, I have an existing webhook that's currently active. So in this webhook, that's actual example. That's a real example. So I use for this test, I use Zapier. You will see a URL to Zapier. So on the Zapier side, I configured their Webhooks app, as well as added a connector to Microsoft Dynamics. So what's going to happen? Zapier will receive this call and forward it to Microsoft Dynamics based on existing configuration. And as a result of this call, you will create a lead directly in Microsoft Dynamics CRM. There's, of course, it's just an example. It's pretty much flexible, and it really depends system you're trying to integrate with, right? I can trigger another email from a Zapier, or I can collect data in Google spreadsheet. I can effectively, it's very flexible. And again, I'm using Zapier as an example, Trade.io, and these are not, of course, these are just examples. And in terms of here's an example of the payload, right? So this is an existing payload. So this is a hard-coded value. Let's say if I want to replace it with last name from Eloqua contact, I'll type the @ get last name, and all done. So if one of the areas for improvement, that definitely something we can improve is whole subject of JSON validation. Today we do validation, so this is valid JSON. So let's say if I remove a comma, comes invalid, you'll see a message that it's invalid. But today I think we need to go one step further and probably highlight the line where invalid syntax is detected. I know it will be great help to everyone who's trying to configure, especially more complex examples than you compared to what you see on the screen. One last note. So I just made a change to this webhook. At the moment I'm going to hit the update button, this webhook, you'll see it became invalid. So for me, the requirement is every time if you configure a new webhook, or you made a change, you need to run a test. You need to make sure that a webhook is tested. And if you look at test logs, for example, so this is the call that was sent to Zapier, and this is a response that came back from Zapier. So it's status success, status 200. So if I navigate back to the program where I configured this webhook, so I'll briefly show it. So this is the step, and this is the so I linked it here. Or it's still being loaded. Effectively, point I was trying to show here is that you can only link webhook, active webhooks that's been active. Sorry, I'm still waiting for a response. Shit. Try it again. Okay, probably it's still loading. I can see that, and I can see my computer CPU is running high, so probably something along these lines. I know we are like, we have approximately 5 minutes left, so I can, let me actually switch to Q&As and see if there are any immediate questions I can answer.
All right.
Yeah.
Did you want me to, let me go ahead and ask one of the first questions we got
Sure.
here. So it says, we often like to create a lead in Salesforce when a contact clicks in an email. We usually do a blind form submit. Would a webhook be a better and easier way of doing this?
If you always create a new lead, that's probably I don't think it will be a better way in this specific scenario. Blind form submit is totally fine, and the form submit app has kind of it basically uses the same framework. So for this specific example, probably not. But I would, use an opportunity, I will encourage you to take a look at a dedicated app that we have for Salesforce. And for example, you can configure marketing activity syncs in the Salesforce app, and these are scheduled jobs that run in the app every 15 minutes, and you can specifically one of the activity types that the support is email send. Probably, so if you want to create a lead on email send, you can do it. One way to do it, it's not the only way, but one way to do it is through marketing activity. So it will, every single time you send a lead, it will create, within 15 minutes, it will create a new lead in Salesforce. Another way to do it is direct through the action step in the Salesforce app. That's another way, and that's probably will be even faster rather than waiting 15 minutes. So the reason why is, again, I don't know what volume of records you typically deal with. So if you just one record or a few records for either form submit or webhook, doesn't matter which app, it kind of should be fine. But if you need to deal with high volume of records, high volume, I would say everything north of 150 per batch, right? I would recommend implementing a Salesforce app, simply because this is a threshold that the Salesforce app uses to switch from Salesforce REST calls to bulk calls that are much more effective way to push data to Salesforce when you actually exceed this limit. I hope I answered your question.
Great, thank you for that. I think you mentioned this earlier, but what are the soft and hard limits to the number of webhooks you can configure, the number of transactions, etc.?
There are no hard limits at the moment. Where they're recommended in terms of number of webhooks, I would say strictly from usability perspective. I mean, if there's a search functionality, search capability in the app itself, so you can it's a local search, but you can, let's say if you list any, from my experience, my own experience, any list, greater than 20, then you're kind of, that is probably when the search functionality will be helpful. But generally speaking, if you keep the number of webhooks between between 20, maybe between 20 and 50, maybe that's kind of, in terms of a soft guideline at the moment, that's kind of, let me put it this way: if you need more than 50 different webhooks in your instance, I'll be very curious to kind of to talk to you and to understand your use case and why you need it. But again, this is a soft limit. There is no hard limit, so you can continue adding these webhooks beyond 50. In terms of volume of data, they're recommended volume is 3,000 to 5,000 contacts per batch. We are currently working on, we're trying to understand how we can push the app and increase this number. But for the time being, while the app is controlled availability, our recommendation is to stick to this limit, like 3,000 to 5,000 contacts per batch. It's not the total number. I want to emphasize, this is a recommended number of contacts per single batch.
Great, thank you. I have one more question in the queue, so last call for questions. If you have any, please use the Q&A button. Otherwise, we'll go to our next question, and it will be our last one. So you showed that we have access to the logs. Are there plans to make a more comprehensive view of the activity available, perhaps an insight or some other area?
Not at the moment, because due to the nature of the app is very generic. It's but I'm open to ideas, right? So if we, for example, at the moment we provide logs, we provide, if there's an error, as a user of the app, you can see the exact details, right? You can see the exact payload that you're trying to send to a third party, and you want to bring back, and the response, of course, that comes back. Once it's done, once the app is in general availability, I think as a like version 2 of the app, one of the things that we can do, we can take these reports to the next level and provide some intelligence around that. That's definitely would be very interesting conversation, one of the interesting ideas to consider. And not just for the Webhook app. I mean, we have all other apps that probably will benefit from similar functionality as well.
Great. We have a follow-up question to the batch response you talked about. What is considered a batch in this case? How long of a wait step should be added to ensure we don't go over that?
The minimum, if I remember correctly, the minimum wait time is 10 minutes, so it's more than enough. So the batches, we define batch as a number of contacts that enter a step, in this case Webhook app step, at the same time, simultaneously, right? So if you add the like wait step with and put it to the support minimum, which is I think 10 or 12 minutes, then you should be fine.
Excellent. Thank you, Nathan, and thank you, everyone. That's the end of our questions today. We appreciate you attending today. There will be a survey available once we close here, and we encourage you to take that. That helps us improve our next webinar. And I look forward to seeing you next month. Thank you, and have a wonderful day.
Thank you.